Hello everyone, and welcome to the Assisting Teaching video in our Structured Observation Best Practice series. These recordings are designed to support planning of the structured observations to help your students achieve the highest marks they can. They should be watched alongside the professional discussion video series that can be found on our playlist and assessor Padlets. I'm Gemma McGregor, you probably know me already, and I'm the Provider Development Officer for Education and Early Years T-Level at NCFE. And I'm joined today by my colleague Laura Robshaw, who's one of our experienced moderators. Please note that these recordings relate to Generation 1, Assignment 2, and the moderation window is the 2nd of February to the 15th of May 2026. So let's take a look at the structured observations for assisting teaching. So in this short video, we're going to talk through some of the criteria across all three structured observations and some top tips when planning for them. They should be watched in conjunction with the professional discussion video series. So over to you, Laura, for a quick summary excuse me, first of each structured observation.
Thank you. Yes, so structured observation 1, students should support the class teacher to engage in planned activities to promote literacy. Structured observation 2 is to promote effective, inclusive teaching, learning and assessment opportunities for pupils. And structured observation 3 is to facilitate educational experiences to support holistic learning and wellbeing.
Thanks, Laura. And I know we've decided to link these together for this one video. Do you want to explain the rationale to everyone behind that?
Yeah, so we've done one video as the planning and preparation across all three is very similar, with some criteria that also runs across the three. These are often the ones where students achieve lower marks. For example, S1.8, they have to work closely with the class teacher to ensure their own contributions align with the teaching. This is in all three, and for higher marks, students need to demonstrate that they're working highly effectively within the boundaries of their role in alignment with the teacher's expectations, show that they've highly effectively contributed to the lesson as well. They should be discussed and agreed with the class teacher beforehand and then recapped within the planned lesson. Students should also consider which pupils they'll be working with, so all the planning can be individualised and support differentiation, which correlates to many of the higher marking bands, so that differentiation is key. This is something that assessors need to make sure that students understand and how planning can be used effectively. Students tend to perform better when carrying out lessons outside of the main classroom without the teacher present, so they can fully showcase their skills. Sharing the learning objectives at the start of the lesson with the children and reflecting at the end if they've been met is also helpful for the criteria.
That's really interesting, Laura. Really interesting point that about being outside of the classroom. That's really good. So S1.9 and S2.9 contributing to the assessment process is also across all three. So what do students need to be aware of for this?
So for higher marks, students should be observing feeding directly back to the class teacher. So best practice is to plan time in prior to the assessment day or feedback to another member of staff if they're not available. This should be well considered feedback on pupil progress and sharing creative ideas to plan next steps. So that part is often missed. So we'll sometimes see feedback given, but it's not always linked to the marking bands. Students would benefit from planning this before and maybe even considering some next steps depending on the outcome of the lesson.
Thanks, Laura. So again, you know, we're covering this, aren't we, across all of the videos in this series. It really does come down to the planning, both time with the teacher and what the next steps might be. So another criteria across all three where students commonly miss higher marks is S2.17, which is identify and use unplanned opportunities to develop mathematical understanding as they arise. So how can students maximise their marks for this criteria?
Yes, so for higher marks, students need to show excellent recognition of a range of spontaneous opportunities to enhance pupils' mathematical understanding, consolidating and extending as well. We find that there are limit opportunities for maths, or often they're not age and stage appropriate. So students need to spend time considering all the spontaneous opportunities that may arise within their lesson, and they'd benefit from further feedback from the tutors and assessors to ensure that a range of mathematical concepts are included. Students would benefit from completing prior observations of pupils' mathematical skills to ensure they can build on what they already know, and that might prevent things like just counting to 5 for, say, Year 5 children that can already count quite confidently. We find that assessors tend to mark more lenient for this criteria, so it's important that the tutor guide is used when marking and ensure there's sufficient evidence for those higher marks. They also need to consider what is planned for, because this criteria should be in addition to. So, for example, if for an SO2 they planned a maths intervention, which included space, volume, and measuring, then the spontaneous would need to be in addition to this.
That makes sense. Just a reminder, and I think we covered this in one of the earlier videos in the series as well, that maths is literally everywhere, isn't it, Laura? From daily routines, comparing quantities at snack time, lining up, order and position, so language like first and last, tidying up, sorting by colour, size and shape. During lessons, special awareness, balance, movement, counting, measuring, use of money, capacity, volume, measurement. The list is endless. Patterns, symmetry, keeping score during a game even, and understanding sequencing. And that's like just a few really, isn't it? There's so many. Are there any more general for more trickier criteria?
Yeah, so the last one's S421, again across all three, promoting equality of opportunity and anti-discriminative practice. We often observe pupils treating children equally, which is great. However, there are missed opportunities to build on this for higher marks, and with planned activities to help support inclusion, challenge stereotype, using diverse resources and facilitating discussions around fairness. So again, this is where that effective planning comes in, really knowing the pupil's individual needs and interests, celebrating diversity of culture and family background, as well as modelling that appropriate behaviour. So using visual aids and stories are effective ways to help secure those higher marks.
Fantastic. Have you got any examples of best practice?
So we've seen so many fantastic opportunities for all structured observations 1, 2, and 3. Again, we're resistant to share those specific examples
Yeah.
because we want them to be individual to pupils and what they're doing at placement schools, and we've seen that that works best. So using the story of the week, linking key themes and festivals, Valentine's, World Book Day, Eid, Easter. The higher marks often include where students are creative, lots of ideas, working with placement mentors, linking to the learning objectives, but also trying to consider children's individual needs and interests alongside those objectives. For example, sharing books and stories and then carrying out fun follow-up activities where they're really engaging those children in their interests. For structured observation 1, students tend to support a class or small group delivering a literacy or phonics session, and for higher marks they tend to include the interests of the pupils and incorporate some ICT. So that iPads, laptops, again working with the mentors at the placement to see what IT they could use and try and be creative as possible with that. For structured observation 2, this observation usually includes a student carrying out a planned intervention, and higher marks are where this is for more than one child, so that differentiation can be demonstrated. Pupils should demonstrate what the pupil needs are, what the children's needs are. Students, sorry, should demonstrate what the pupil's needs are. So often they'll plan an intervention, but it's not always clear why that intervention is needed. So making it really clear within that plan what the intervention is and why, and how they're promoting inclusive learning. Students should be encouraging pupils to set targets, their own targets. We often see that the targets are set by the teacher, which impacts on the marks. Students have been observed being creative with this one, such as asking at the start, how many questions do you think you're going to get correct today? And then ticking off at the end. So it's those little targets within the activity that work really well. And then for structured observation 3, this observation includes ways to effectively support pupils' development of perseverance, self-reliance and curiosity. We've seen lots of fantastic ways that students can do this through forest school activities, yoga sessions and scavenger hunts. Students just need to reminding to ensure that all criteria are covered. For example, they may implement an effective outdoors activity, but then miss opportunities to talk about the benefits of the outdoors with relation to holistic learning and the practical considerations of health and safety, which then does impact on those higher marks.
Fantastic. Again, loads to consider there, Laura, and some great examples. I think the main parts that I'm taking away from this is for students to consider which children they're going to work with, and complete observations so they can feed that into their plans. And again, for all of the structured observations across EYE and assistant teaching, they need to work in partnership with their placements, their class teachers, to ensure the stories and plans relate to individual needs and interests, and use the tutor guide. That's what it's there for, to help you ensure you're covering all of those assessed skills. Assessors and tutors should look over plans against the tutor guide, again, to ensure all those assessed skills are there and higher marking bands have been covered, and provide timely feedback as well. Feedback's really, really important. On the day, students should be reminded to use their plans in professional discussions, and assessors should use these, and in addition to that, some further questioning just to ensure that higher marking band responses are captured, really. So thank you so much for that, Laura. I found that really useful. And to everyone watching, thank you for joining us, and we hope you found it useful too. Please do share your feedback and suggestions via the link in the comments box below the video. And again, thanks for watching.